Patch goes live on Tuesday, the 2nd of July. And it has Terra in it. New hero patch. So Terra, for those of you that missed her abilities, her Q is like a multi-hit. Well, she has a passive. Her passive is a 5-stack passive. You hit enemies with autos and abilities, gain stacks, 5 stacks. Your next ability is empowered. Kind of similar to the way Crunch works, except you have to hit people with your abilities. Crunch, you can just use them. So there's that. Her Q is this thing. It does damage. It hits a couple times. The empowered version does... the normal version does 2 hits. The empowered version does 3 hits. The 3rd hit is true damage on the empowered version. And then, yeah, you can see hitting a hero refunds cooldown. This is like your primary damage tool. I think it's a pretty good ability. It's really good for wave clear. Really strong early game, by the way. Her E is a throw. It's an axe throw. Does damage and slows people. When she's stacked up, it roots people instead. Pretty straightforward. Her right click is a dash. You charge it up. So you'll see when you're playing her, there'll be a little line on the ground. And that line it starts at like half distance or something. And it grows to full distance as you charge it. And you can hold it for a little bit. You're slowed while you charge it. You can hold it for a little bit. But then if you don't release the button, it will get rid of your charge. It'll go on cooldown. It goes on half cooldown if you don't use it, or if it's interrupted while you're charging. It does damage. It does a little bit of a knockback and a stun. And yeah, it's a pretty good ability. The longer you charge it, the more damage it does as well. And then when you have max passive stacks, it gives you a ginormous fucking health shield. And then her ultimate just makes her CC immune, and then you passively gain armor from it. So there you go. Store stuff. Terra gets a skin. Iggy gets a skin. He gets like this little robot skin, which is kind of cool. Sereth gets a fucking redhead skin. Oh my god. Holy. Like, dude, this is you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, right? There's a couple bundles. Terra has a bundle. Iggy has a bundle. Kira gets a bundle. She gets one of the color change variant bundle things for her like pirate skin. Sereth has a bundle. Ruby Scarab Grux gets a bundle, which is pretty cool. He just gets a couple of recolors. Then there's a double Ruby Scarab bundle. There's apparently a sale going on that I didn't know about right now in the game, where a bunch of skins are discounted, and then next week there'll be more other skins discounted. I'm disappointed that the TB skin is not getting discounted. I know that it just released, and it would feel bad if they discounted it right away, because it would be, it'd be like, well, I just bought it for full price when it came out, and now it's discounted. But like, it's the only summer skin in the game, and it's not discounted on the summer skin sale, which I think feels a little bit weird. Other stuff. So moving into actual like balance stuff, crits got nerfed in the 6-item patch. They're buffing them a little bit. They're not where they were before, but a little bit of extra crit damage. Melee minions do more damage, and ranged minions do a little bit less damage, so that's kind of cool. This is mostly like to help waves bounce properly, is what this is for, by the way. Jungle improvements. They're making everything tankier just a little bit. So like Primal and Orb are both going to be much harder to take. Like Orb especially, this is like actually pretty big. Armor getting increased and the anti-heal getting increased, like that actually matters. Same with Primal Fang. The Fang Tooth changes, you won't feel these a whole lot, but the two big buffs you'll feel. And then there's a lot of like random stuff in here. It's just like numbers changes to jungle camps. Well, all you need to know is like this, right? So jungle XP increased mid-game. They're trying to help junglers keep up a little bit. And that's really about it. So like red buff is going to be a little bit squishier, right? Like same with blue buff. It's just you should be able to clear a little bit easier. You should be able to keep up in XP. You can see like they're just adjusting all the XP stuff here. So I'm just gonna gonna skip this. Junglers should get more XP now. Hero balance. So general. All melee heroes gained additional armor growth, and all ranged heroes also gained additional armor growth. This does not affect magic armor. This is physical armor only. Just should help you feel a little bit tankier, especially later in the game. This isn't a lot. Like, that's the thing, right? At level 10 for a melee, this is like 3.5 armor, which isn't a lot. But all the armor counts, especially like before people get penetration online. It all does matter. Argus gets some buffs. He gets his Q nerfed a little bit. They nerfed the damage nerf doesn't really matter, but the mana cost nerf does matter. This is actually really annoying. And then his right click gets buffed again, a decent amount actually. You have to keep in mind how many times you're hitting people with this in a fight. So like 8 damage is a lot. Argus, I definitely think is considerably better with these changes because you aren't permanently out of mana to clear waves because you clear waves faster now. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely think he's better. I was thinking about it the other day. You know what change they should make to Argus? Like legitimately what change they should make is that if you have your pillar out and you throw your right clicks at the pillar, they should explode. That is the change they should make. Because right now, Argus, when you hit someone with your right click, it does AoE damage around it. It's a very small AoE, but it does AoE damage around it. And they should let you proc that on your pillar. I think it'd be really good quality. It would make his boxing in mid really, really reliable. Is what it would do. I think it actually would be really cool. Aurora gets a bunch of nerfs here, mostly. Her passive gets nerfed on like the damage, which is good. Her E gets nerfed, or her what is this? Yeah, this is her right click, actually. Gets cooldown increase. Her E... No, I was right. This is her fucking E. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay, E gets a cooldown increase. CC goes up in cooldown. Her right click, she gets a bunch of scaling changes. They do the same thing to her ultimate. Take base damage off, give it extra scaling. These do matter, especially like the right click change is 10 damage off of it on both hits, which like her wave clear will go down quite a bit from that. The ultimate nerf is fine, I really think. Just to be honest, like, I think that this ult already does a fuck ton of damage, and, like, losing a little bit is a bummer, but who cares? Countess gets some buffs. Her Q gets more damage. This should help her if you're playing her in the jungle specifically. It'll help her clear red. And then she gets more healing on her right click. Maybe that makes her better in mid lane if Gideon is still being played, but that's about it. Crunch, his right crunch. This is his E, the slow. Hitbox range increase. So base E, the one that with the slow, it's a bigger hitbox. And the uppercut gets a much smaller hitbox. This is a good change. The E range is less than your auto range currently, and it's a little clunky. The uppercut range is about 18 times. It's essentially ranged auto range. That uppercut goes halfway down the lane, so that's good that they're changing that. Drongo gets more attack speed, gets a bug fix. Feng Mao gets some pretty big nerfs here, actually. They nerf his shield pretty hard at rank 1. 20 shield off of this. Rank 1 is actually pretty, like, a big change. And then same with his hamstring. You get a lot less cooldown reduction on your dash now from hitting your hamstring. I don't think Feng Mao's dead. We'll get to the item changes in a little bit, but these nerfs do matter. And then they nerf his ult execute a little bit, but, like, I don't... That part I don't think matters. But, okay, legitimately, maybe the best part of the patch, hitbox height decreased by 40%. You can jump over fucking Feng Mao ult now, bro. It's gonna be so good. You can, like, Greystone jump this, or Xeris ult this, or Chimera jump this, and it's gonna feel so fucking good to outplay Feng Mao now. Because this just hits the This just hits the fucking skybox at the moment. I swear to God, this goes to build height. And now it doesn't. And it's going to feel so good. It also means you just have to, like, use your ult properly on this character now. You can't just ult cuz. Gideon. Some pretty big Gideon nerfs. He gets the damage on his Q taken down quite a bit. And then his ultimate cooldown increase. This is fine. The pull strength decrease. That is a nerf that hurts quite a bit. And now it has a half a second delay before it pulls people. So in a team fight, to be honest, I think this is still fine. I actually don't think this hurts Gideon's team fight very much at all. In mid lane 1v1s or 2v2s against, like, you know, mid jungle versus mid jungle, or even just on a gank against the enemy mid laner, I do think this matters a lot. Because you just don't perma-CC like an Iggy into your ultimate anymore. If he's on the edge of the range, he's still going to lock out of it. I think that this is a good change all around. Grim.exe gets a bunch of nerfs here. Passive damage nerfed, Q damage nerfed, assault mode damage nerfed, and mana cost. Again, so this is actually what I was talking about, dude. I've been saying it, that all they need to do to this character, they need to nerf his damage, of course. All they need to do is make his E cost more mana or refund less, and that's exactly what they fucking did. Like, oh my god, it's actually just the best change that they could have made. They made his E cost 20 per shot at all ranks, and they nerfed the rank 1 mana regen, which is really good, because now if you're leveling E second, your mana early game, you actually have to pay attention to and, like, keep track of, and it's a really good change. Then they nerfed the ult a little. But this is a really good change to Grim. I think this will keep him... He won't be able to just permanently poke you and then still walk you down a lane with his slow. Gruck's passive Omnivamp goes down. Good. I think it should be lower. Honestly, I think it should be lower. I think this is still ridiculous. Q damage goes down. Right-click damage goes down. His ult gets nerfed and everything. Just how it is. I think this character is really frustrating. Grux is similar to very many Paragon characters in this game, in that his kit is designed to be frustrating. I don't know why it is. That's just, his kit is so easy to use and so brainless. Like, there's a reason that people call it Gruxin, right? Like, it's so brainless that it feels really bad to play against if it's ever overstated. And I just, like, that applies to about 50% of the characters in this game, right? Just absolutely brainless to the point where when they're good, they're incredibly frustrating, because you're like, this guy's a dog shit player, but he's playing Grux and has 30% lifesteal and I can't kill him, right? That's just how it goes. It's really frustrating. So, like, again, it goes back to the point of, like, I think that all of the Paragon heroes need drastically reworked. Like, not all of them. Vast majority of them need drastically reworked. Grux is on that list. Howie, cooldown increase on his Q, slows down his poke a little bit. Very cool. Iggy gets some changes here. Again, another just incredibly frustrating hero, by the way. Base stats decreased. His turrets get the cooldown decreased, but they get a lot less tanky. So their magic armor goes down. You'll be able to kill turrets with abilities now, which is really cool. And then the scaling on them, like, damage goes down a little bit. His E gets some burn damage nerf. His Molly gets a little bit of a damage nerf. Same with his ultimate. I think this character is probably still pretty good, because you still just do the same thing, which is AFK push mid lane and defend your base. But the fact that you can kill his turrets now with abilities, like, easily, is really, really good. Really nice. Kalari attack speed buffs. Epic. I don't know. Helps her clear, I guess. I don't know. Kira gets some nerfs. Passive nerf. Her Q gets cooldown increased rank 1. Her let's see, her right click, bit of a damage nerf as well. Her ultimate on hit damage nerf. Probably still a pretty good character. I think this character's kit's just pretty good. She has a dash. It gives her power. She has a stacking passive. She has a pretty, like, decent ultimate. Good lane poke. Good rundown potential, right? Like, I think this character is probably still decent. Wang gets some, like, buffs, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, I already thought this character was pretty good. They're buffing him. They nerf his passive, which is, like, epic. Who cares? But then they buff the cooldown on his Q. His right click gets a damage nerf early game, but the shield goes up drastically if you're building any power, which is crazy. And then his ult gets a damage buff as well. So I don't know why they're buffing Quang. I think this character is going to be absolutely insane. I already thought he was good. Bellica gets some damage nerfs to her right click, or some damage buffs to her right click, and then the cooldown decreased. I think this helps her. I don't know exactly how much. I don't know exactly how much. I think, like, because they've done everything to this character to nerf her, and I don't know. Like, this used to be 60 to 80%, or maybe it was 65, 80% on her bomb. And that just felt so much better to me. Like, going up to 75 is close. Cooldown going down. This used to be a 6-second cooldown. That's when it was really, really good. I don't know. I don't know how good she is in mid lane. Maybe she'll be better in support. Origesh, her Mark, her lock-on gets nerfed quite a bit. Muriel gets some changes. She just gets all around nerfed. Muriel does. Her passive gets nerfed. Her Q gets nerfed. Her E gets nerfed. Her ult gets a pretty big nerf, actually. Mostly, the cooldown on the ultimate goes up late game. Which, like, that's a pretty big nerf to her. Shield goes down. Like, Muriel just gets all around nerfed, which is probably necessary. I think Muriel's really strong right now. FaZe, couple of nerfs. They nerf her pull at rank 1, the cooldown, and then they nerf her E. Very cool. Ramp gets some buffs. He gets the cooldown on his rock decreased by half a second. Mana cost decreased. This is a good change. This shouldn't be a 100 mana ability. I think it's kind of wild. And then his E gets some scaling increase, but the base damage goes down. This is a buff. This is a buff. But I don't know how good Rampage is going to be. It depends on how good tanks are. Rev gets some buffs as well. His attack speed actually goes up, which is a pretty big buff to Revenant. And then he gets a little bit more crit damage. But this is actually pretty big. I don't know exactly how he'll feel, but it's a pretty big change. Richter gets some buffs as well. They buff his Q damage. They buff his E damage. They buff his ult damage. Like, these are pretty good changes for Richter. Especially, like, this on top of the jungle changes, dude. I think Richter jungle might be back. I think it might be back. Sevarog gets his Q buffed and his ult buffed. Very cool. I think this character is actually not terrible right now. If they're trying to make him good in solo lane, maybe that's what this is for. I think in the jungle, this character is good. Shinbi, passive nerf. Her E gets nerfed. Very cool. Sparrow just gets her passive nerfed primarily. Her ult gets nerfed quite a bit as well, which kind of stinks. And then her Q gets whatever, 10 damage taken off of it. Who cares? Faye gets a nerf here. I'm going to be honest. I don't know why this one is. Like, it's a 5 damage nerf, so, like, does it matter? Not really. But, like, is this hero overperforming? I feel like this hero is fine. I really feel like Faye is fine. I don't know why they're nerfing this. I mean, again, it's 5 damage. It doesn't matter, but still. Wraith buffs come through. His Q gets a pretty big buff. This just change on his Q. A while ago, they went away from this, right? Wraith Q used to scale with level, and then they just put it to 6% at all levels, and now it is 6 scaling up to 8 again, which is a pretty big buff. And then his snipe gets a pretty big buff, too. It gets base damage and scaling. So if you can, like... If the breakpoints on this allow you to kill ranged minions on wave 1 with 1 auto faster, right? With 1 less auto on them, then this character could actually be pretty scary in the mid lane. Just because his level 1 walk at you gets stronger with that. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I do think he's bad, but these are pretty big buffs. Yeah, Maddie is fucking in heaven right now. I don't think this character is super good right now, so I don't mind the buffs, but these buffs are pretty large, I will say. Xerath, more nerfs for Xerath. Auto attack damage goes down. His passive healing actually goes up a late game, actually. Goes down a little early, but like late game, a little bit higher. I think this is fine. I don't think this really matters, to be honest. Like, I don't know. This character's passive is also bugged. It's been bugged since he launched, and they've never fixed it. It's really odd. It's not even like an abusable bug. It just does not work as intended. I think it's super funny. It basically, if you have max stacks of your passive, they all heal you right away. They don't heal you. It heals you over like 4 seconds instead of 8 seconds. Because his max passive stacks are 8. It should heal you when each stack falls off, right? But it actually heals you every half a second instead of every 1 second. So if you're able to hit someone 4 seconds after you leave combat, then you would actually still have 4 passive stacks and you would have gotten the maximum healing. It doesn't heal you 16 times. It just heals you 8 times over 4 seconds instead of 8 times over 8 seconds. And it's a really odd bug. Again, it's like, it's not abusable. You can abuse it in the jungle late game by hitting jungle camps when you hit 4 stacks. But it's a really odd bug that's been in the game forever. His Q damage mitigation gets nerfed, very epic. His mana costs go up on his E. His right click damage goes down. His ult duration goes down. I think these are good nerfs. I do think these are pretty harsh. Like, this character has been very resilient to nerfs thus far, and these are pretty harsh. So we'll see. He might still be good in, like, competitive, right? In PCC, you might still see this character picked up just because of how good he is at engaging. He just has the freest engage out of any character because it's a lock-on cage, right? Like, really good. But in solo queue, my guess is this character gets considerably worse. Don't think Wraith needed buffs. I think Wraith was fine, but I do think he needed some buffs for, like, most players. I think 98% of the player base needed Wraith buffs. It's also just a flash grabber. That's the thing, Maddie. Like, he has a lot of utility, and he's just, like the character's kit's really good, so you might still see him in PCC. Balance changes. So this is the big one, is Judgment. This is the biggest change. Cleaver damage. So the active damage changed from physical to magical. This destroys Judgment Feng Mao. This is unbuildable on Feng Mao now. So it's unfortunate that's how it is. But yeah, this is unbuildable on Feng Mao. And then the damage of it goes way down as well. So this is going to be used. Yeah, then they say it. It's overperforming in assassin builds, which is true. It's way too good on assassins. But the damage type, like, changing it to magical will make it less good on assassins. On Feng Mao, you're probably back to Ortis now. Just kind of how it is. Kind of a bummer. I thought this crest was really fun. This is going to be my last weekend of ranked where I can just absolutely abuse the shit out of Feng Mao. Dust Devil, cost decrease, stats decrease. This is going to be a lot of carry items or just getting attack speed taken off of them. Equinox, same thing. Lightning Hawk, more power, less attack speed. Quiver, multi-shot damage gets changed. It's more base, but it's less at maximum value, I guess. I don't know how to say that. Plasma Blade, more power, less attack speed. Sky Splitter, passive gets nerfed. Stormbreaker, less attack speed. Tainted Rounds, more power, less attack speed. Vanquisher, more pen. It's actually kind of nice. Envy, less pen, but Malady has more pen. So, like, this change is linear. Like, these... in a lot of builds where you're building Malady, you're also building Envy, unless you're playing a carry with Malady, right? So, like, this is still going to be 14 pen total, which is fine. Infernum gets nerfed. I think that's fine. Besmer, more pen. Omen. The Omen changes are big. I actually think this might bring Omen back. Because part of the reason that Omen sucked so bad was that they gutted the passive, but they also gutted the base stats of the item. I don't, like, as long as this item only has 10 haste, I'm not sure if it's worth it. But this is a step in the right direction. It costs a little more, but it has 5 more power, 1 more pen. I think, yeah, if they ever buff this to 15 haste, this is going to be a really good item. As long as it's 10, I'm still skeptical, but this is a step in the right direction. Bone Saw, more power, but they removed the tenacity. Realistically, probably a pretty good change. Being able to tenacity stack off of like an aggressive item like Bone Saw, I think is really frustrating to play against. Mutilator, damage nerf. Combustion, damage nerf. Dreambinder, HP buff. Keep this in mind. Asterisk here. Put a pin in this one. Noxia, power decreased and cooldown increased. These are good changes. Noxia's OP. Probably still a pretty good item realistically, but yeah. Prophecy, nerf, Soulbinder, buff. Cooldown decreased means you can stack it more often. Really good. I think that on maybe Iggy, who else? Howie, stuff like that. You might be able to build Soulbinder on, like, unironically. World Breaker. Bonus health to magic power increased from 4.5% to 5%. I said to keep this Dreambinder buff in mind. I think with the Gideon changes, you might be going, it might be Orb Dreambinder Gideon. That might be what you guys start seeing. Orb Dreambinder World Breaker. I hope you guys don't see that, because that's frustrating as hell to play against. But yeah, you guys might see some more of that. Dawnstar buff, Dynamo buff, Everbloom nerf. Everbloom doesn't affect yourself anymore. Very cool. Frosted Lure buff, Hexbound Bracers buff, Martial nerf, good. Sidems OP. Frost Guard buff, very cool. Tainted Guard buff, very cool. Warden's Faith buff. This is big. Okay. Warden's Faith getting extra critical, like extra reduction to crit damage is actually pretty nice. I think, keep in mind, I think this is the only 70 armor item in the game right now. And it still has the power reduction passive. This is a 70 armor item, and it is a 2-stat item. Okay, it's 70 armor, 300 HP, I believe. So it's only 2 stats, but it also has 2 passives, okay? I think this item might be honestly, I think it might be a little slept on right now. But if crit becomes good again, you're going to see a lot of Warden's Faith, I think. And then bug fixes. I don't really know what's in here. I didn't look through this. I don't really care. If there's something in here that matters, just let me know. They did fix this. Fang Mao's ultimate indicator would not appear correctly at rank 2 and 3. Epic. So maybe now Fang Mao's execute shows up properly. Who knows? Fixed an issue where Iggy's flame turret would not attack core. Wait, what? That's a bug? Iggy's turrets are supposed to hit core? That's crazy. There's no way that they're supposed to hit core. That's actually crazy. I don't know why that just caught my eye. There's no way they're supposed to hit core and it's bugged. That's crazy. They hit turrets into inhibs. Yeah, but the core has different mechanics. Like, the core is a different beast altogether. I would have just thought that it wasn't supposed to. You assumed they were hitting the core? No, they haven't. Maybe they did, like, when Iggy came out or something, but for the last, like, 3 months, Iggy turrets have not hit core. I just assumed that was an intentional mechanic. Wait, okay. Hold up. Sorry, I just was reading these more. Fixed an issue where Gideon would fall to the ground if rooted during his ultimate. That's interesting, because I also thought that was an intended mechanic. Same with Howie. Fixed an issue where Howitzer's ultimate could get canceled if he was hit by a root. I assumed these were intended mechanics, but I guess they were not. So now you can Howie ult and not get pulled down by... Well, Howie ult is mostly Terra root and Revenant ult were the 2 things that would really fuck up Howie's ultimate. But same with Gideon now. Interesting.